Hey guys, it's Jamesanity from the CSL channel, and today I am bringing you standings. Now, this is pretty self-explanatory, but I'm going to explain it anyway. Standings is basically a short show, where I will recap the standings currently, such as wins for teams, losses for teams, division standings, and playoff standings, as well as top killers in the league. So, without further ado, let's just jump straight into it with our number one team in the Ruby division, Cherrymander, and the Zion Zards, with 3 wins, 2 losses, a +7 differential, a +2 streak, and seeding number 2 in the playoffs. This team and this player in general has really stepped up this season, and I predict them to kind of stay on top and possibly make playoffs this season. Yeah. Next up, we have Nefertum and his NJ Flabebe at number 2 in the Ruby division, with 3 wins, 2 losses, a +2 differential, a +1 streak, and seeding number 3 in the playoffs. Now, I do want to mention something about the playoffs. There are 2 number 1 seeds, one for each division, 2 number 2 seeds, again, 1 for each division, 2 number 3 seeds, 2 number 4 seeds, etc., etc., and 2 wildcards as well. So that's basically how playoff works. So if you do see 2 number 3 seeds, then that is why. But Nefertum and his NJ Flabebe have been on top, and I do face him next week, so I'm pretty scared. But it just goes to show how close the Ruby division is when the 2 top teams have the same record. Next up, we have the Macargo Tel Aviv, coached by Alpha Hores, in number 3 in the Ruby division, also at 3-2, but a -2 differential with a +3 streak and in the losers bracket right now. I predict Alpha Hores to kind of bump himself up to the top. He is at a +3 streak, which means he's gotten all 3 of his wins in the last 3 weeks, and he's been on a steamroll lately, taking down teams like the Detroit Pyroar. I really do predict him to go far this season, and I predict him to make playoffs, even though he's currently not. Next, number 4, we have Entertainment and his Syracuse Sylveons, with 2 wins, 3 losses, a -8 differential with a -1 streak, and he's also in losers bracket. Daniel, Entertainment, kind of surprised to see you down here. I know you're an amazing player, you are a former finalist, but like, you're in a tough division and a tough conference and a tough league in general, so this is probably the closest season yet, so I can see why someone like Dan is at 2-3 right now and a -8 differential. And finally, we have Jatun and the Vancouver Golducks, unfortunately sitting at number 5 in the Ruby division, which is last in the Ruby division anyway, at 1 win, 4 losses, -12 differential, +1 streak, and no playoff standing. I don't know what to say about Jatun and his Vancouver Golducks. He just pulled out a massive win over the formerly number 1 team, the Beijing Bohemians, so I honestly don't know where this team is going to go from here, and I can't really predict that, so yeah. Alright, next up we have the Sapphire division, and sitting at number 1 in the Sapphire division is the formerly mentioned Swoops and the Detroit Pyroar, with 3 wins, 2 losses, +8 differential, -1 streak, and sitting at seed number 1 in the playoff standing. Now that's just a testament to how close this league is. Seed number 1 in the playoff standing is 3-2. We have no undefeated teams, we have no 4-1 teams. It's just an incredibly close season, and this could change at any point, although I do predict Swoops and her Detroit Pyroar to make playoffs this season, just judging by the conferences. At number 2 in the Sapphire division, we have Jamesanity and his Westerville Wailords. At 3 wins, 2 losses, a +2 differential, a +1 streak, and sitting at seed number 4 in the playoffs. I don't know what to say about myself, honestly. I don't want to say anything just in case I go off the wrong way, so I'm just not going to say anything and move on to the number 3 team, which is the Gaming Club and the Beijing Bohemians. At 3 wins, 2 losses, a +2 differential, sitting at the exact same record we are, but at a -2 streak and a wild card in the playoffs. They dropped heavily with 1 loss. They were 3-1, and now they're 3-2, and that bumped them all the way from seed number 1 down to wild card. It's hard to predict where the Gaming Club go from here. Since he has a -2 streak, I'm still kind of scared to predict him to go down because he's a really good player, but I'm scared to predict him to go up since he has that -2 streak. So we'll just find out in time, won't we? Next we have Rylai's and his San Diego Wild Chargers. Now you know your division is tough when you have a 3-2 team sitting at number 4 with a -1 streak and 0 differential, also in loser's bracket. Rylai's, he's not been playing very badly at all. He's actually been playing very well. It's just that he's in a really tough division right now, which makes him number 4 and in the loser's bracket. So at number 5, we have King BC and his BC Bastiodons sitting at 2-3 with a -1 differential and a -2 streak, also in loser's bracket. Nothing wrong with BC. He has also been playing very well. It's just that it's a really tough division, and he's had some really tough matches recently, and he's just sitting at 2-3 right now, I think, because of that. But I don't know where he's going to go from here, basically. Moving on to the Sinnoh Conference, the Diamond Division, we have Krakenation and his Boston Bisharps sitting at 3-2 with a +5 differential, a +3 streak, and sitting at seed number 2 in the playoffs. Krakenation and the Boston Bisharps have been kind of hacked out this season, which is why they're 3-2, but they have been playing very well, and they certainly deserve the number 2 seed that they have. Not saying that they can't be number 1 seed, it's just that they certainly deserve to be in the upper echelons, I guess. I don't know what to say without sounding offensive, but next we have number 2, Easy Bake Oven and the Texas Toros. Surprisingly, a 2-3 players at number 2. Everyone else in the Diamond Division is 2-3, so it really goes up to differential at that point. With a -1 differential and a +1 streak, Easy Bake Oven is able to clinch seed number 4 in the playoffs. And yeah, that's about it. His last win was a forfeit win, so that's where his +1 streak comes from. So I don't know if he's going to stay seed number 4 or in the playoffs at all, but we'll see with time. At number 3, we have Solry and his Tampa Tyranitar, also sitting at 2-3 with a -4 differential, a -1 streak. And in the loser's bracket, he took a hard loss last week to Ant-Man and his Memphis Mamoswines. So that's why he's at the -1 streak and the -4 differential. I think Solry has the potential to make playoffs. He's just got to work for it. Next we have Cool Me Down B and the San Antonio Espers, aka Colin, as he'd probably prefer me to call him. Colin, call him. That rhymed, but 2-3, -4, also at the same record the Tampa Tyranitar are at, so I don't know what made the San Antonio Espers number 4 and the Tampa Tyranitar number 3. I'm not aware of what changes that, but yeah, the same thing goes for Colin. He does have the potential to make playoffs, and he's just got to work for it. He did get a strong win last week, so we'll see how it goes. And at number 5 in the Diamond Division, we have a surprising team, which I believe made playoffs last season. Ewok and the Charleston Kinglers sitting at 2-3 with -7 and a -1 streak. Unfortunately, not in playoffs. I did not expect Ewok to be down here. I believe he's going to rise up in his division, and he could possibly make playoffs, but Diamond Division is really tight right now, so it's possible for any of the Diamond Division teams to make playoffs just because it's so close between the 5 teams. Moving on to Pearl Division, we have DeMonster AWS and his Los Angeles Critras sitting at number 1 seed with 3-2 and a +7 and a +1 streak. He's been rocking it this season. Last week he got a strong win against Todd of the Chicago Bouffalants, also in his division, so that really boosted him in the division standings and the playoff standing as well. But it's still early in the season, so we can't really tell too well how he's going to go from here. Next we have Abda P and his Calgary Hydro Cannons sitting at number 2 with 3-2 +5 and a -1 streak. And seed number 3 in the playoffs. I believe he's going to stay where he is, at least number 2 or number 1. He's a very good coach. He was a finalist last season, and I believe he's going to stay in the upper echelon to the Pearl Division. Next we have Ant-Man 1973 and his Memphis Mamoswines in number 3 slot with 3 wins, 2 losses, a +4 differential, a +2 streak, and the wild card in the playoffs right now. Just 1 differential point behind Abda, so it's very possible that he can pass up Abda and possibly take his playoff spot from him. Even though Ant-Man already has a playoff spot, it's possible he could rise up, and it's also possible he could go down. But that +2 streak kind of implies that he will go up, just based on momentum mechanics. At number 4 in the Pearl Division, we have Dubstep Penguin and his Washington Weaviles sitting at 2 and 3 with a +0 differential, a +2 streak, and in the losers bracket right now. Looking at that +2 streak, it's kinda I would say it's kinda hard to predict where he's going. He is 2 and 3 right now, but he does have that +2 streak, so it's not easy to wait. Hold on, that should be a -2 streak, I believe. That should be a -2 streak. My apologies for that. But looking at his -2 streak, that changes a lot of things. Looking at his -2 streak, it's again hard to predict where he'll go since it's early in the season. But if I had to make a prediction, it would be that he would continue to fall. And number 5 in the Pearl Division, the last team we're going to be covering is Todd and his Chicago Bouffalants, also with a -2 streak, but a -3 differential to place him in number 5. He's still making losers bracket, but I believe Todd will end up passing Dub at some point. This isn't really supposed to be a predictions game, but this is more just reporting on the standings. But that's where Todd is right now, and that's where the Pearl Division is right now. Obviously, all the divisions are very close, and it is still week 5, so we got 7 weeks to go. So it's really hard to predict who will make playoffs and who won't. Moving on to top killers. At number 1, we have Lucario of the NJ Flabebe, 10 and 3. Not too surprising. Lucario's been destroying lives this season, and the NJ Flabebe have been destroying lives this season. And that's about all I have to say for Lucario. Number 2 is Kieran Black at 9 and 3, so just behind Lucario. On a not as successful team, but still at 9 and 3. Kieran Black is obviously a really big threat in league format, as well as Manaphy, which is number 3, like that segue, with 7 and 1. And moving on to our 4 through 7, we have Tapu Bulu, aka Buffabill, of the Westerville Whalelords, sitting at 8 and 2. Volcarona of the Memphis Mamoswines, sitting at 8 and 2 as well. Buzzwole of the Los Angeles Critras, sitting at 7 and 1, and Starmie of the Zion Zards, sitting at 7 and 2. So that about wraps it up for the standings. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next week for the Week 6 standings. Bye-bye.